Hello and welcome. This is Rooflemonger, my friends. Today in this video we are talking the Guilty Gear Strive story mode, the new story mode, Another Story, dealing with Baiken, Ramlethal, and Delilah. So out of the gate, we're talking spoilers here, right? So if you have not seen this yet, I highly suggest you go watch it. It's a little under an hour long, so it's not a very long watch, unlike the original story mode, which is almost 5 hours. We're going to be talking a lot of the bigger plot points, although not necessarily beat for beat. And we're also going to be talking about where it leads us, because I think this is more of an interlude, if anything, a little bit of a warm-up, because I truly believe this is the setup for a larger event, Season 2 story mode. Time will tell, I suppose, but if it just leaves it here, it's a really odd point to leave things at. So that all said, now let's talk these events and their impact on the greater Guilty Gear world and lore. So the first thing to talk about really is the introduction of Delilah. The story kind of goes right into it, and you can see they're making a fairly big deal of Delilah as she is a very strong character. However, that's exactly the problem. Her strength, and she's stated to be stronger than Bedman was, and Bedman was already, theoretically on like a level of a god with what he could pull off. She can't quite control it. And in just the act of searching for happy chaos, well, now she's inadvertently put over 100,000 people's lives at risk. So all these events are happening at the exact same time the main Strive story mode is happening. So when she's looking for happy chaos, he's currently at the White House. And why is she looking for happy chaos? Well, she's blaming him for Bedman's proper death, because, well, the Universal Will / Ariels killed Bedman, but turns out all along, as we now know in Strive, Bedman was inside Ariels and probably corrupted her, and this, that, and the other. A lot of mumbo-jumbo, right? Long story short, assigning the blame to Happy Chaos now. Also why she's paired up with Baiken now, because Baiken knows the original That Man is actually Happy Chaos and not Aska R. Kreutz. So effectively, they're both looking to kill the exact same person. And Baiken, while not necessarily giving up on revenge, she's definitely a lot more chilled out at this point of her storyline than she is in like other iterations of earlier games. Where, she was basically kind of blinded by rage, just looking for that man, wherever he may be. And by the end of the Exar timeline, she learns from Angie that that man isn't Aska and is actually Happy Chaos, and then we're off to the races. And I guess you could say in Delilah, she sees some of her older self, right? Just more blinded by rage. Hey, you got a whole life to live. You don't have to go down this road. I went down this road. Hell, I'm still on this road in a way, and it's not much of a life to live. Delilah's young, obviously doesn't have much experience in, well, living. So the death of her brother, which we'll talk about in a second because her brother is not really dead, but rather the defeat of her brother at the very least, definitely got to her, and it's all she can think about. So they have their little spat about revenge talk, and Delilah's had enough, and she flies off to go find Happy Chaos. And that leads us to the beginning of the plot, because, well, Baiken can't fly, right? So we gotta take the train instead. Leading us back to current timeline, she found Happy Chaos, knows where she is, tries to teleport there, using her powers, can't control her powers, and now a whole city might get wiped out because of it. And also on top of all this, here's Bedman, right? And they call him Bedman. Delilah calls this Bedman. They act very much like it is the Bedman. Now, nothing in the in-game lore wiki thing says anything about this as far as this story goes, so we have to take it as it's presented that I guess this is Bedman. Just one that lives in through the mech suit and cannot communicate. Other than shedding a beautiful tear at the end. Oh my god, look at this. Just makes you want to tear up, right? Look at that. Robo crying. For Bedman, that's literally all the explanation you get. Anyways, back to Delilah. So her teleportation kind of sucks, right? It's going to blow up everyone. And that's basically the whole crux of the story, right? It's almost like, an episode of a cartoon or something. The whole plot revolves around basically just stopping everything about her failed teleportation and blowing everyone up, right? And spoiler, they succeed. That's how that goes, right? Their cockamamie plan works. And then there's the moment after that, which we'll talk about in a little bit here. But first now, let's talk Faust. So Faust, very famously, had nothing to do with the original Strive story mode, and he got a radical redesign, and a lot of people are wondering what's up with him because he looks a lot more dark and sinister, and just bad times are happening. And actually, May had nothing to do with the story either, but, well, May has nothing to do with this story, other than donating the jellyfish pirate boat. So if you are unfamiliar with Faust's backstory, he was a serial killer back in the day. He's done a lot of bad things, and a lot of his wacky persona basically came about of trying to atone for those ways. And this specific story mode, he's also still seeking it. He's seeking salvation through trying to save people, and he's very much okay with making it a suicide mission. Faust kind of wants to die saving someone. Maybe this will be the ultimate atonement, that's always how a lot of movies and books end, right? You die saving everyone, then you're finally the hero you always thought you were. None of the story that happens in this story mode can work without Faust. Only he is strong enough in magical ability to even compare to what Delilah is putting out, to not only just stop it, but save her while doing it as well. And while planning all this, Ramlethal sees it exactly for what it is, in that this is his death wish. And he's not too happy when she sees through it. And in case for whatever reason you're watching this video and you did not watch the story mode, well, this whole scene is actually pretty cool and dramatic, as Faust has a very strong ability to create doors to the backyard. And hell, let's just make one Omega-sized door, right? And they're going to be using this door, mega door, to the backyard to kind of eat up a lot of the energy Delilah's putting out and just break her spell in half, basically. As this whole event is going on, Faust said it's just purely a willpower thing, right? As long as he can keep it up, they can keep going. Everything relies on him to keep this whole plan working. And so he has to basically give it his all, plus ultra, right? Can't give up, gotta keep doing it. Even though it sucks and takes a real big toll on his body. So now here's the thing, it leads to, well, where you think it might lead. Thanks to a last-minute save from Sin, bringing in a bunch of gears to help pull, just increase the pulling power, I guess. They break the barrier. Delilah's misfire spell won't go off. Hundreds of thousands of people's lives will be spared. But the cost is too much for Faust to bear. He did it. He pulled it off, but in the end, his body gave out. Saved Delilah, saved all the citizens, and then this. Like, he turned into an actual ghost and just floated up to heaven? When I watched this happening, I just audibly screamed, what? Because, what is this? Like, when you're doing the whole anime dramatic death scene where, you put in all your power and you died, right? This isn't how this goes. Like, it's wacky in the way that Faust is wacky, but what does this mean? I actually have no real idea. It's not like characters haven't died permanently in the Guilty Gear world. Like Cliff, for example, is very dead. But I can tell you no one has ever died in the Guilty Gear world by having a giant angelic ghost literally leap out of their friggin' body. Maybe this means like a redesign for Faust in Season 2. I don't really think they permanently killed this character off. Faust is too popular to die, basically. But whatever the future has for him, it's going to be very interesting at the very least. Now, one of the most major changes to the future of how the Guilty Gear universe is going to turn out is with Sin. And when he came to save the day, he did so with a bunch of gears. If you know anything about the Guilty Gear universe, the gears are a much maligned group of peoples / beasts / robots / cyborgs / a lot of weird things. A gear can be literally anything. A being made from science. But the gears, these giant flying dragon gears, help save the day. The big save, stopping Delilah's thing from going off and saving the town, would not have been possible without them. And now turns out this is a major plot point. For the people the whole time who've been threatened in the city below, when they look up, what they're seeing is it is the gears that save them. Humanity, for the most part, distrusts the gears, and perhaps rightly so, as the Crusades destroyed a very large part of, well, the world. And that was the war of the gears against the human race. So then we hit our epilogue here, and they tell the story of the gear on a crew saved the city. That story spread far and wide. And now Kai is abdicating his throne. He's no longer the first king of Illyria. So now someone else will. It says, perhaps it led to gears gaining citizenship. Gears and humans can start coexisting because of this event. And also now it says here as well, for the first time in history, humankind welcomed a non-human leader. So in Kai stepping down, it would appear that a gear took the reins as the king of Illyria. So gears have citizenship, there's a gear king of Illyria, so basically humans and gears can peacefully coexist. Now they do show Dizzy in this shot, and I really doubt it's Dizzy who's the leader of Illyria, like she's the queen, because she's only a couple years old, she lived most of her life in the woods, she doesn't know much about statecraft and politics. If she was to be a leader, she'd purely be a figurehead. But hell, maybe I'm putting more thought into it than they did, right? So Pretty Girl can run the world. Maybe it's Dr. Paradigm. He's showed up in the story modes before. He's a gear, right? But regardless, in this aspect of the story mode, they're saying that the human gear divide is finally coming to an end, which has pretty big repercussions for the future of the Guilty Gear storyline. Now that said, the future. So now, we saved the day. Gears and humans are going to coexist. We stopped Delilah from blowing up everyone, right? So that's the main crux of the plot, I guess you could say. But in the end, the main thrust of the action, not too much happened. We get one more final threat in that, it turns out Delilah's teleportation spell still isn't stopped, right? It's going to happen no matter what. So then we have to put Ramlethal beside her, as Ramlethal is the Valentine, thus, creature of the backyard, and the backyard is responsible for all the magic, this, that, and the other, right? So anyways, we're going to stop her from going nuclear a second time, effectively. Because Delilah is still super stressed out, and turns out, I guess, the major threat isn't just over at the moment. So Ramlethal is the one that's going to be eating the brunt of this one. Because, well, she's the team player, and now in this situation, she's the one that can handle it. However, Baiken knows, hey, you're stressed out, this is why it's happening, so how about we have a moment here in the power of love? So they have a big old heart-to-heart, and Baiken's basically like, hey, even though we're both obsessed with revenge, maybe that's not the answer anymore. And basically states directly as much, right? We're going together, and let's give up our revenge together. We'll stay together. I guess you could say we'll basically be a family. And Delilah, for her, this sounds like a pretty sweet deal, all things told. So I guess this is exactly the de-stressor that she needed, so no more going nuclear. And even though it's just stated that the teleportation cannot be stopped, apparently, if you give a good enough hug, I guess the teleport can be stopped. As you can see right here, the effect goes off, and as it snaps out, Ramlethal and Baiken are still standing there. So, no teleport. So I guess you could say that specific storyline now is wrapped up in a nice little bow. Delilah and Baiken are no longer revenge-driven. But the thing is, as we well know, Happy Chaos is still very much a threat. Like the end of the Strive story mode, the original story mode, the end credit scene is, by the way, Happy Chaos, he's still here. And more to the point, perhaps everything's going according to plan. Now, what would have been cool is that teleport spell did go off, and then Baiken, Delilah, and Ramlethal just beat the crap out of Happy Chaos on that beach, but that's not happening. But even after that story mode, the original Strive story mode, months after Happy Chaos became a playable character, and we got more hints of his character. And that now he's a messiah, a broken messiah, and he might cause major incidents, but he could also end up on the side of justice. So, man, who knows? But whatever we know is Happy Chaos is still at large. It's a very left open plot point. And now, in a much more, I guess you could say, nuts and bolts kind of way, this story mode is under an hour long, right? The Exard story mode is about 4.5 hours long. The Revelator story mode is about 4.5 hours long. The Strive story mode is about 4.5 hours long. This one's 40 minutes long. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down here, this definitely doesn't match up to the other stories, and it definitely feels like something bigger is on the horizon. Like, you can't have Revelator be a bigger deal than Guilty Gear Strive Season 2. It's just not good for business, right? And so with future story stuff foretold, like, the whole Gear stuff, Gears merging with humanity, a new leader for humanity that is a Gear, the fact that the Happy Chaos plotline is very much left up for grabs, I very strongly believe that there will be another story mode past this one. Plus people like Delilah and Baiken, sure, they just said, sure, let's give up revenge, right? But how about you put that to the test when you put them up against Happy Chaos? And hell, Bedman's apparently still alive. So that's a thing. And then we got the mystery of who is the second guard. We have Sin, obviously a big deal. He's the first guard. But the second guard, he talks a big enough game that he might just be someone, although they don't really spell it out who it could be. Already seen some theories. It's Robo-Kai. It's Cronus. I guess we'll never know till they actually show us. But still, that's another fun mystery. But regardless, what I'm trying to say here is in Guilty Gear Strive's story in no way feels complete and done with this. There is no real sense of finality here. Now, if you wanted to leave it at the original Strive story mode, then yes, there would have been a sense of finality if it wasn't for the Happy Chaos is still alive and that large stinger at the end. Which led to this, and it didn't really move that forward at all. It's just basically a side story to give Ramlethal and Faust some screen time that they didn't have in the original story mode. And May, she gets to show up on her ship, but that's really all she offers. But still, at this juncture, basically, I'm left wanting more, and I bet a lot of you are too as well. So that said, we're basically at the end of the video here, so post in the comments below. Do you think there is more to come? Is there another story mode? Maybe not with the launch of Season 2, but somewhere down the road. It just feels like there's a lot more sprinkled in here, that there's a lot more story to be told just yet. Maybe I'm crazy, but that's what I'm thinking at the moment. But anyways, my friends, this is now the end of the video, so thank you very much for watching. Hope this video has found you well, and go out and play some Guilty Gear.
This is the love making.